Hey Brian, how's it going, bud?
How you doing today?
I am doing okay. I am hanging in there as I usually stay.
Cool, cool. The WORD66 Steve Scott, man. You have a new single coming out, 37 Miracles. Tell me a little bit about that. And you also have a five-track EP coming out also.
That is correct. So 37 Miracles is the title track of our new record that will be out shortly. It's basically, if people don't know, we're a Christian rock band.
Mhm.
And 37 miracles is the amount of miracles that Jesus performed in his lifetime.
Uh-huh.
So we thought it'd be really cool to write a song about that. And so we came up with 37 miracles. And in the actual song itself, we have about 15 of his miracles that we list as well.
Cool. Uh, Now you also have a new vocalist too, right?
That's correct.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Okay. His name is Carlos Zema. And Carlos is also does some stuff with a couple other bands as well. A couple of pretty hardcore kind of bands. And when we were going into the studio, our old vocalist Brian, we were talking with him, and we just thought that it would be best for him to exit the band at this point in time. And it just so happens that some of the guys I was playing with, they were like, "Hey, I know this guy Carlos. He's a really great vocalist. Why don't you reach out to him?" And so I reached out to him and sent him some music, and he says, "Hey, man, I love it." Happens to be a Christian as well, and has a really big Christian background, upbringing. And so he listens to the music. He said, "Man, I love this. I would love to do this with you guys." So we went to the studio, he recorded everything. And if you're familiar with our stuff previously, his vocals or I should say, are more of a harder kind of sound. So kind of helps us get a bit of a heavier sound as well.
Cool. Now, Carlos, was he in a band called Outworld?
A long time ago, yes.
Okay, then I know him well. You know,
Okay.
know him very well because Rusty Cooley was a friend of mine and still is a friend of mine. And Carlos sung in Outworld, with their stuff in the early days. So I know Carlos,
Yes.
you know,
Excellent. Yeah.
good guy too.
Small world, man.
Yeah, good guy.
Yeah. Yeah, he
Definitely.
is.
Definitely. Tell me
Yeah.
about a compilation album that came out in 2021, Rock Freeday collection, volume 5, I think it was, and you did the Promised Land on there.
Correct. That was our first record that we put out. It was called On the Way to the Promised Land, and the title track, On the Way to the Promised Land. We had done a lot of promotions in a lot of different places. So that was, of course, during the COVID time, and you had nothing to do, man. Excuse me. So I was home, and basically I was literally spending like 10, 12 hours a day promoting the music and making connections and getting a hold of people, getting a hold of radio stations and magazines. And fortunately for us, this first track really took off. Everybody loved it. It reached number one in several different countries. And there's a guy, Alejandro, that does that station, and I had sent it over to him. And he says, "Man, I love this." He says, "Would you be interested in being on this compilation record?" And we're like, "Of course." So that was pretty cool.
Cool, cool. Now, that was also an independent debut 4-track EP that came out in 2021 with Spirit in the Sky and other tracks and stuff like that. You want to go down the 4 tracks and tell me a little about each song? I'm pretty sure you have videos too for each song.
Absolutely. And On the Way to the Promised Land was actually a band video.
Uh-huh.
Excuse me. The other ones were more of a concept video.
Uh-huh.
So on the way to Promised Land, we actually there's this place here. We're in Vegas, so there's this place called, they call it the Salt Mines,
Mhm.
and we went down there. And we thought it was a great place to film it. So we knew this guy Robert, and he came out with us, and we filmed it out there. Excuse me again. And so that song actually is about the Book of Exodus,
Mhm.
and it's kind of it takes you through kind of a bit of a chronological order of the things that happened
Right.
historically. So we did that one on the way to the Promised Land, and then we were thinking, there are so many bands out there that when they do covers, it
Mhm.
kind of introduces people to a larger base audience.
Right.
So we figured, okay, let's do a cover track, and we're trying to figure out what song should we do. And there really aren't that many secular songs that are really religious out there. So,
Right.
it seemed like the picks were kind of limited. So Spirit in the Sky is a huge song and has been in quite a few major motion pictures as well. As a matter of fact, I was watching this series the other day, and they had that song in the background too. I'm like, oh wow, they added that song too.
Mhm.
So this guy Norman Greenbaum, who from the '60s,
Right.
who,
Yeah.
excuse the expression, was a one hit wonder kind of
Right.
thing, and he even admit that in some interviews I've heard from him as well. And so that song like was life changing for this guy, and so here it is, what, 60 years later, and everybody's still
Mhm.
loving that song and still playing it all
Right.
over the place. So we think like, let's try that one, and let's see if we could put our own little take on it. So it's funny because we went into the studio and we were recording the track, and at the end, we have this kind of double bass thing at the end. It's like tick, 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 tick.
Mhm.
And that was actually an accident.
Mhm.
So we were actually in the studio and we were recording, the song. And then it was just like, so we figured by then the song was going to be, edited out, slowly fade out. And, we were just kind of messing around, and the drummer starts going, and I was going, do. So we did that. And then when it was done, we just like, wow, that was really cool. So we kept that in there. So just a little trivia thing about the band.
Cool. Cool.
I feel the love sweet as candy. That's about just having the love for God and saying that it's as sweet as candy, which for me, I'm a sweet freak. And if I'm not eating candy, I'm eating like cookies and ice cream and all that kind of stuff, man. And so to me, that's the ultimate, So to me, God being as sweet as candy to me is says it all.
Right. Yeah.
And then there's I Am Free, which is just basically about a guy that was going through some difficulties in life and discovered God, discovered Jesus, and it changed his life.
Cool. 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 Uh, Tell me about each member of the band and your feelings towards them.
Oh boy. Maybe you're looking for some new members after this, huh? Hmm. Well, Carlos is new, so he's the new vocalist, and Carlos is a great guy. Carlos is very, very mellow, and he's just really positive, and again, a Christian, so he's a major follower as well, and he's very um, considerate and just a real good guy. So he's a good guy to have
Right.
in the band. And then Lance Crane is the drummer.
Mhm.
He's been on the last couple of records. Lance is my oldest friend in the world. I
Right.
have known him probably, I don't know, since I was about like 16 or 17 years old. So we started doing projects back then, and he was a great drummer back then. I remember being introduced to him by a friend, and I was looking for a drummer. And Lance was a huge Neil Peart
Mhm. Yeah.
fan,
Yeah.
and you can hear it in some of his playing as well, especially on the new record. And I remember going to his house, and he had this huge kit set up, and he put on some headphones and he put on some Rush music, and he hit every single everything on the song. I mean,
Right.
he knew everything, and he's just such a great drummer. So we've been friends ever since, and he's done a lot of projects with me along the way. Um, and then Danny Miranda, who was on tour with Queen for quite a while and has been in Blue Oyster Cult for, you know, 30 years or something. So he's been doing the bass tracks for us, recording wise. He's not officially in the band. So if we go on tour tomorrow, he might be in there, he might not be in there. It depends on what he's doing and just what's happening at that time. So and then there's me. I'm the guitarist. I write all the music,
Mhm.
and I'm inspired by the Lord, man.
Cool. Cool. Now, I think Carlos is from Brazil.
Yes,
Okay.
he is.
So, was most of this EP coming out done on WAV files, or you did it in person?
Person. He was in the studio with us
Wow,
recording.
that's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Well, he
Definitely.
lives here in Vegas.
Okay, I didn't know. I thought he still might have been in Brazil. I don't know. you know?
Oh man, no. So he's about 35 minutes drive from me.
Cool, cool, cool.
Yeah.
Definitely. Now, do you feel being labeled as a Christian rock band, if you are, um, people shy away from that style of music?
I believe sometimes yes.
Uh-huh.
There are a lot of people, luckily, in the age that we're in now, people are, I think, are a little bit more considerate to other things these days and a little more open to things. So there are a lot of people that are like, I don't care if you're Christian, you've got great music. So
Right,
that's really the bottom line. Because if you listen to our music and let's say you don't even listen to the lyrics, you won't even know that we're a Christian band
right.
because we rock like everybody else does. The only
Mhm.
difference with us is that we always have a positive message to convey,
Right.
you know, and it's our hope that because I would say a lot of our radio play is probably actually Brian non-Christian.
Hmm.
So we get a ton of radio play, especially in the indie world, and we're hoping that people will hear the music and just want to know a little bit more.
Right.
The last record we did was called Rock and Roll Preaching,
Mhm.
and we basically feel that's what we do.
Right.
So if you saw me on the street, man, I mean, I wouldn't walk up to you and go, "Hey, Brian, man, when was the last time you been to church, brother? Hey, do you believe in God?" It's
Uh-huh.
kind of we'd have a regular conversation, man. We
Right.
only really have that conversation if somebody wants to have that conversation with us.
Right.
We basically let the music do the talking for us.
Uh-huh.
But there is, or are, I should say, a lot of places that won't play our music because we are Christian based.
That's pretty sad.
It is.
Yeah. Music is music. That's it, you know?
Right.
So,
Right.
you know,
And I don't know if they think that, they'll listen to the music and they'll automatically become Christian or they'll start having weird dreams or,
right.
they'll feel this urge to go to church or, hopefully those things can happen, um, but it's not a prerequisite by any means, man. I mean, we're just putting some good rock and roll out there and we just have some meaning behind it.
Right. Yeah. Me, I believe in God, but I really don't go to church. But my wife, I think she lives there, you know, because she's a lay leader. So, like, she actually does sermons sometimes, and my daughter sings in the choir. So, like,
Nice.
they're both church people, but my son's special needs, and he don't like going, to church. He wants to be home. So I stay home with him and stuff like that. And I mean, sometimes I think my wife goes, over the top. Like I feel like she's not home enough. She's always at church, you know? So right now she's at church, right? Tomorrow she'll be at church. But that's her thing. That's her thing, you know? So
There are
tell me,
some people
go ahead.
I'm just gonna say there are some people like your wife, for instance, that really are really strong believers, and it's really their life and a huge part. They say that in your life, let's say God is supposed to come first,
Right,
and then your marriage, let's say, would come second, kind of thing.
right,
And the ideal couple would be what they call evenly yoked, where you would be as much of a follower as she is, kind
right.
of thing.
Uh-huh,
But it's cool. I mean, I had Bible study last night, to be
uh-huh,
honest with you, with a
yeah,
bunch of friends.
uh-huh,
So I do have my beliefs, but again, like I said, I'm not the guy that walks around trying to preach to you and trying to change you.
right,
I believe that religion is something you have to find on
uh-huh,
your own.
right, yeah, definitely, definitely. Like I said, I'm not a churchgoer, and her, like, she carries this little trinkets in her pocketbook, and she would like say we went out for breakfast, and the waitress was really nice or whatever. She would take one out, and she said, "I was told to give this to you," and stuff like everywhere she goes, she I don't know whatever she gets them or whatever, but she gives little like keychain type things to people when she meets them, you
That's
know.
beautiful. That's
So
beautiful. Your wife sounds like a beautiful person, man.
yeah, okay. Yeah.
She was beautiful, and then now 10 years later, she's okay. I
You
get it.
know. So let's go into the new CD that's coming out, the 5 tracks. Can you tell me anything about each song? Ah,
So, as I mentioned earlier, the title track is called 37 Miracles.
right.
It's funny because I was at a sermon one time, and our pastor was talking about stuff, and he was saying like Jesus performed 37 miracles, and that's kind of like a trivia thing because many Christians, even the people I was at Bible study with yesterday,
Uh-huh.
didn't realize or know that Jesus performed 37 miracles in his lifetime. So I remember that was really cool. I remember taking out my phone and putting it down, going, 37 miracles. I got to write a song about that one day. And it took some time for me
Mhm.
to get there. I was
Right.
in writing mode one day and I was like, 37 miracles. And it was a tough song to write, man. It was
Right.
definitely a labor of love.
Mhm.
For some reason, it had writer's block left and right with that song, but we think it turned out great.
Right.
Um, so that's a tribute to Jesus. And then there's another song that's what we call a power ballad.
Right.
It's called I'll Be There, which I'm very excited to release. I think it came out amazing. And it's just about a person going through a lot of hard times and having trouble believing,
Mhm.
in this whole thing with God. And they have doubts. And God is basically talking in the song, saying, whatever you're going through, just understand that I'll be there with you.
Mhm.
So
Cool.
really cool track. I can't wait to release that. Then there's a song called "Tell Me," which is just about a guy saying, "Hey, I know that I have purpose in this world, and I need to know what it is. Tell me what it is that I need to do." So it's just about a song about somebody wondering again what their purpose is and waiting for God to answer their prayers and say, "Hey, this is what you need to do in your lifetime."
Right. Yeah.
This song called "Heed the Words," which is a really cool song. It's kind of like a commercial hard rock track. And to me, it's kind of like a story and a bit of a journey because it's about Jesus's journey. And it's saying, heed his words, the things that he's saying, listen to him, um, obey them, trust them. There's a part where he's saying, he was walking by the seas of Galilee, and he saw two men, and he shouted out, "Come and follow me." That was John and James, who are fishermen, and they were out on the sea, and he was walking by, and he saw them, and he made them disciples, and he said, "Hey, come and follow me." So it's one of my favorite lines in the song. I love that. And then the song called "The Sky Is Falling." That's a pretty hard rock track. And basically, it's about the flood,
Mhm.
the 40 days, the 40 nights. And it's about this guy. He has a dream that the world is coming to an end. And he's telling people, "Hey, man, this is what's going to happen." And everybody else is like, "You're crazy. You don't know what you're talking about." And then as it's happening, the people are freaking out and they're running all over the place and they don't know what to do. And he's like, "I told you guys." So I think that's five. I think.
Mhm. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. So, was there anything in your life that made you believe there is a God?
I think for most people, besides myself, I think you turn to God a lot of times if it's not something you grew up with, which is the case with me. I think when your life really sucks,
Uh-huh.
and you just don't know what to do,
Right.
it's just something to look into. And this is anyone who's listening. I always say this to people as well. If you're going through a lot of hard times and you don't know what to do, and you've tried everything, and this might be an answer for you. You might be able to find some hope and some peace with God, and maybe you could find fellowship with people. You go to church and stuff, and you do your Bible studies, and they have certain programs and things that maybe you could find some other believers that you can befriend, and they also kind of help you be accountable in life.
Right.
So let's say you're an alcoholic or something, and you're going through some times and you're having problems. Having some of those friends, they will help you get
Mhm.
through that. Besides praying and God's assistance, these people are there for you, and so they will help you. So there was a time in my life where everything really sucked and I didn't know what to do. So same kind of thing. I had a friend that I was working with and he turned me on. to Christianity. And the thing that he did too was really cool was he knew that I was a musician and music was my life. So he did it in a way where he's like, hey man, there's some really cool Christian rock bands out there. And I'm like, really?
Right.
And I think a lot of people too feel that way.
Right.
Because it's funny, Brian, because sometimes I'll do interviews with people too, and they go, wow, Christian rock. I didn't know that. I had no idea. And it's kind of like, they think I'm like the founder of Christian rock because they don't know anything about it. And they don't
Right.
even know that it's a genre that exists.
Right.
And I really think that people are doing themselves an injustice by not looking into it, especially if you're a hard rocker, man. I mean, there are some great
Yeah.
hard rock Christian bands out there and hardcore
Yes. Yes.
bands as well that also do this. You got the guys going,
I was
and
just
they
going
do
to
it in
mention it. Yeah.
and they do it in a Christian way. So you have the metalcore bands too that are also Christian. So people should look into that and add that to their list, man, because there's some great music out there. But getting back to it, man, I was going through a part of my life where just things were really bad. He turned me on to this music, and I really dug it. And then I started going to church, and it helped to change my life.
Cool. Cool. Now, what do you believe when you pass away, where you go?
Everybody calls it going home.
Uh-huh.
So going home means going to God and going to Jesus. So the hope is that, because nobody knows for sure,
Right.
there are afterlife experiences where people do claim that they see these things and they see the lights and they see all this kind of stuff. So afterlife is proven. There definitely is an afterlife, but we are hoping that going home means that we will be with God, we will be with Jesus,
Mhm.
and that eternity will be beautiful.
Cool. Cool. Now, when I pass away, I want to be cremated. Do you have any feelings towards that?
I want to be cremated as well.
Okay, cool.
I do not want to rot in the ground. And I don't know if it's true. I watch a lot of horror movies,
Uh-huh.
which I probably shouldn't do, but it's probably my favorite genre. But you know how sometimes when they're digging up the bodies or something like
Uh-huh.
that, and there are bones and there's like maggots and
Yeah, yeah,
worms
yeah.
and all
Uh-huh.
kinds of stuff on you, man. And they ate up your body and your flesh. And
Mhm.
I just man, I don't want that, man. I just want to be cremated because it's the soul that moves on. It's
Right.
not your body.
Definitely, definitely. Now, the
Yeah.
reason why I want to be cremated is, say I have 3 kids and they move to a different state. They'll never go to the cemetery, right? They'll never come back from California to New Jersey, right? And that preys on your mind. Even I'm only like 30 minutes from my parents and my sister, and sometimes I don't go, right? And then it preys on your mind. At least if I'm with them in an urn, each split it up, I'm there. They don't have to go nowhere, right?
Right.
So
Yeah,
that's the
that
reason why.
I get that, Brian. But also the other thing is too is it's kind of weird because people go and they visit the grave, but I guess that's for your satisfaction
Right.
because
They're
I
not there.
doubt if those people are like, oh, hey, somebody finally, hey, what's going on, man? I've been sitting here for the last 3 years and nobody said a word to me.
Uh-huh.
Thanks for coming, man. I
Right.
appreciate it. Hey, thanks for those flowers.
Mhm.
It's something I guess psychologically for your mind because I'm sure they don't know that you're
Right.
there and that you're paying your respects.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So when's the CD coming out?
Good question.
Mhm.
I don't have an answer.
Okay.
So so we are being managed right now by this guy Paul Crosby, who PCM management. Paul was in Saliva for like
Uh-huh.
20 years,
Right.
the drummer. So he's managing the band right now. He believes we need to drop a few singles, I think, before we actually put the full CD out.
Right.
So it's probably going to be a little bit of time. Probably every couple months, we'll probably be releasing a new track.
Mhm. Cool.
So I'd say probably before the end of the year, I
Mhm.
would say the CD will be out.
Okay. It seems that's the way to go now. in music. I mean, almost all bands, I asked them the same question. What's the reasoning behind only dropping singles? And then near the end, finally putting out a full length or an EP on different color vinyls and whatever, you know? So that's the answer for most of the people. Their answer usually is attention span.
Yes.
People just forget stuff right away. You
Oh,
know?
absolutely. And there's so much new material coming out every day,
Uh,
so it's kind of like, so you get lost. It's just like when you send, I have a lot of connections, besides my management, I have a lot of connections that I've made with like radio stations and publications and all kinds of stuff over the last 5 years. And, you could send them your new track or your new EPK, your new bio, whatever. And I mean, they are so bombarded with people sending them stuff all the time, they might not even see your email for a month,
right.
2 months, 3 months. I got some people every now and then. It's like 6 months later. They're like, "Hey, man, I just saw your email, and hey, love your track." And it's like, so yeah, it's you want to keep up to date as much as you can with people.
Cool, cool. And what are your hopes when this CD does come out? What are hoping for?
We believe that this is a really strong CD.
Uh,
So if you guys dig the first track, 37 Miracles, expect the other tracks are going to um, be just as powerful as well, or more powerful. So we're really excited about it. We are hoping, our hope is to spread the word to as many people as possible. That's the ultimate goal. I believe my purpose in life, why I was created, was to spread the word about God and about Jesus through the music. And again, if you're not religious, hopefully you just dig the tracks, man. You just listen to it and go, "Hey, it's just another rock song. This
right.
is cool." But our mission is to spread the word. So we're hoping and praying that God will give us all the avenues, tell us what to do, give us all the moves that we need to make to get this out to as many people as possible.
Cool. Now, your personal preference, would you rather have download, CD, cassette, or vinyl?
CD.
Mhm.
Vinyl is cool.
Uh-huh.
I don't really know how many people really buy vinyl,
Right, yeah.
though. It's kind of cool and it's come out and it's a novelty.
Hmm.
I mean, I have a huge selection in my closet because I don't actually have a turntable.
Uh-huh.
Maybe someday I'll get one because I've got a ton of vinyl because I used to DJ on a radio station as
Right,
well. And there were times where you would bring crates with you of music, because I had a specialty show. So I would pick, the albums that I want to play, for the day, and I'd put them in crates, and I'd bring my CDs and stuff, and I would bring them to the radio station. So I've got hundreds and hundreds of vinyl,
right,
that some of it might be rare, it might be worth a couple bucks, who knows? But it's very cool. But of course, it's kind of become passe.
right, yeah.
That's why it was gone for so many years, and somebody brought it back and said, "Hey, this is a really cool novelty,"
Right,
because it was cool to hold the album in your hand,
yeah.
and you turned it over and you read it and you pulled it out and you kind of dusted it off and you put the needle on there, and it was
Hmm.
that was a way of life once upon a time.
Definitely, definitely. Well, Steve, it was great talking to you, and I appreciate the chat. Congratulations on the new music and the new
Thank you.
single, 37 Miracles. Everybody go check it out. Check out Steve. Check out his page. By the way, you have any merchandise available?
Yeah, we do.
Good.
There's some on the website, some of the older stuff. I think just the first record is on there, but the first and the second record are on there. I don't think the new one's on there yet, but you can get t-shirts and hoodies and tapestries and coffee mugs and tumblers and badges and all kinds of crazy stuff.
Cool, cool. So, would you like to say anything to the fans out there?
Yeah. I appreciate you guys taking the time to learn a little bit about our band. Just a little trivia thing also. So the word 66, there's actually 66 books in the Bible. So that's where 66 came from. it's funny because when I talk to people, I go, "Oh, I know 666. Is it? Does it have anything to do with that? No, it has absolutely nothing to
Uh-huh.
do with that. So again, the 66 books of the Bible, if you're wondering, and the Bible's the Word, so we call ourselves the Word 66. Um, again, we're a Christian rock band, and our mission is to spread positive vibes to the world. And if you're not into that kind of stuff, that's cool, man. Hopefully, you'll just listen to our music and you'll dig what we have to, just dig the sound of the music. If you have a couple moments, please, go to our Facebook, go to our Instagram, go to our Twitter. Please follow us. Please subscribe on YouTube. We've got 4 more tracks and maybe a 5th one. We might add another track to that CD before it actually comes out. We did a track on the previous record called "How Will I Know," which is this beautiful ballad about a guy wondering when God is going to send him his Eve. So it's got the old Vocalist on there. It's just vocals and acoustic guitar and a cello. So I was thinking about bringing Carlos back in, maybe
Uh-huh.
putting his vocals on there, his vocal take, and bringing in a full string section. So we'll bring in like a viola and a violin and just kind of really make it pop. So but anyway, if people would be so kind as to follow and like and comment and um, just be aware that there's a lot more music to come from us as well.
Cool, cool. Thanks a lot, Steve.
God bless everybody. I really appreciate you, Brian.
Bye-bye.
Take care, man.